stress. So the question is, what does stress do to the adult or child's mind? Well, we have a term in neuroscience called a downshift, a neurological downshift. The simple answer to this is, the higher the level of stress that you're under, the less of the blood flow goes to the prefrontal areas and even the rear associative areas where knowledge storage takes place back here and knowledge understanding takes place up here. So basically, the higher the stress level, the less the blood flow is to the very neurological areas that you need to learn and alter your behavior so you can be successful in the world. To give you an idea, when you're under stress and you've ever had to go out and give a speech, and all of a sudden you're giving the speech and your stress levels are through the roof and you can't remember any of the words that you were supposed to give in your speech and you start blubbering. Well, basically, the neurological downshift caused that. So what happens is higher stress level, less blood flow to those prefrontal and rear associative areas that you need to coordinate for you so you can remember the data that's important to you. So in a learning environment, it's probably the most destructive thing that you can do. Now there's a certain level of stress, kind of a eustress, that you kind of have when you're challenging your buddy and you're trying to do better than him. That's different than if I don't get an A, I'm not going to Harvard. That's a total different form of stress. Now, here's the fascinating thing. I can raise your stress level and you can still get the A. But you're hardly going to remember any of the stuff that you used to get the A so that you can use it in your life later on. That's why we have so many people graduating and even going to good schools that are having a hard time getting and keeping a job where they can be successful. What we tend to do is look at really these good schools and these guys that get jobs, but they're getting jobs a lot of times because of who they know, not what they know and how they can apply things. So, and that's why there's so many people, I keep going back to these same 5 or 6 people. Again, I'll say it, Jobs, Wozniak, Dell, Allen, Gates, Ted Turner, the guys at Facebook, Twitter, the guy at Virgin Airlines. They don't, what is their degree in? They don't have a degree. They self-selected out. They self-selected out so they could follow what's meaningful to them. They self-selected out because the stress was so high in the system that they felt they were being damaged at some level. And they needed to go follow what was meaningful to them. So what happens is stress, it's basically stress. It's called cortisol, is what your stress hormone is. Basically, the higher level of stress that you have, the top of the adrenal gland gives off a hormone called cortisol. It goes into your brain, and if it's there for more than 20 minutes, it's basically like pouring acid on neurons and neural connections. We have great research from Stanford and other places that shows that when I'm under stress for too long a period of time, really over 20 minutes, it's like pouring acid on these neurons. You can literally see the neural structures atrophy and wither. And so when you stick a child in that environment, and you put tons of pressure on them, grade pressure, extrinsic motivation pressure, reward and punishment, parental pressure, what we're doing is we can literally damage the organ when they graduate that they need to succeed later in life because we've caused such a high level of cortisol that we've really murdered neurons and neural connections. And there's good research that shows this. You know, we can even show people that have, you know what PTSD is, post-traumatic syndrome, who is high level of stress. We can literally show PET scans and fMRIs of parts of their brain shrinking because of the stress. And while the school system may not be a post-traumatic syndrome on a child, some children it almost is. But in other children, it's still enough stress to cause damage. So by not opening up the system, allowing me to find what's personally meaningful to me, I can cause a dramatic amount of stress in my brain that can damage my ability to succeed later in life.